All right, skill number 5, simplifying expressions involving positive and negative exponents, and we are only going to simplify as much as we can and leave answers with positive exponents. So first one, x to the 4th times x squared, you have 4x's times 2 more x's. That ends up being multiplying 6x's altogether, so that's going to be x to the 6th power. Second one, this 2 right here really means you have n to the 5th times n to the 5th. You have 2 of those multiplied together. And that's like having 5 n's times 5 more n's, which is like multiplying 10 n's together. So that's 10, or n to the 10th power. Letter C, you have a 2 on the outside, which means you have 2 of what's in parentheses. So if you want, you can think of that as writing it twice. 4x to the 6th power y cubed times 4x to the 6th power y cubed. It's all multiplying. 4 times 4 is 16. X to the 6 times x to the 6, that's like 6x's, and 6 more makes 12x's, x to the 12th, and y cubed is 6y's multiplied together. So you end up with 16x to the 12th, y to the 6th power. That's your simplest form. Letter D, you have a fraction, so be careful about where there are more factors of the variables and possibly the numbers that have common factors. One thing I noticed is that 14 is the same as 2 times 7. So I really have 2 times 7 times c to the 5th power d cubed. And my denominator is 18, which is 2 times 9. And I have c times d to the 8th power. This is all a multiplication on top and bottom of that fraction. So I want to cross out common factors. The 2 and the 2 both divide by themselves and leave me with a 1. I have a 1c in the denominator and 5 on the top. So if I take out a common factor, I can take away a factor of c from the bottom. And I take away one factor of c on the top, and that becomes c to the 4th power. Here I have 3 d's on top and 8 in the bottom. So if I take away 3 d's on the top, all of the d's cross out. And if I take away 3 of these d's, I have d to the 5th power left under the fraction bar. So what's left on top is a 1, a 7, and a c to the 4th power. So I have c to the 4th power, and don't forget that 7. And my denominator is going to be a 9 and a d to the 5th power. And I'll rewrite that so it's a little neater. So the top of that fraction ends up being a 7c to the 4th power. And my denominator is 9 d to the 5th power. And no common factors or no common variable factors to simplify. The last one, you have negative exponents. And negative exponents mean reciprocal. So I think it's simpler to rewrite any factors that have negative exponents with positive exponents instead. So that means if they're above the fraction bar, they go below the fraction bar, and vice versa. So a few things. This x to the negative 4th power, to make it a positive exponent, put it under the fraction bar, x to the positive 4th power. Y to the 0 power is a 1, so I'll put the number 1 right there in place of that. Z to the 5th power, it's already a positive exponent, leave it where it was. Under the fraction bar, x to the 7th, leave it where it was, it's a positive exponent. Y to the negative 6th power, make it positive, put it above the fraction bar, y to the positive 6th power. And z, which is the same as z to the 1st power, positive exponent, leave it alone. So let's go through and simplify. On top of this fraction, I have y and z as factors. The bottom I have only z, no y to cross out. So I have z to the 5th power and z. I can take away this whole factor of z in the bottom. And if I take away one of these powers of z, I have z to the 4th on top. So my whole top of the fraction becomes a 1 times z to the 4th, y to the 6th. I'll put it alphabetical order, y to the 6th, z to the 4th, and timesing by 1 is not necessary because I change the value, so I'll leave the 1 off. And my denominator is just factors of x. So x to the 4th and x to the 7th, same thing as just x to the 11th. And no common factors on top and bottom of that fraction bar, so that's it. So that's skill 5. Study those examples. And here are some practice problems. So go ahead, copy down these problems, take your time, work them out. And when you feel that you have answers to those 5, after you pause the video, play the rest of the video and check your work, see how you did. Alright, here are the answers to these 5 problems. X cubed times x, which is really x to the 1st power, ends up being 4x's multiplied, so that's x to the 4th. The second one, cubed, this 3 on the outside, means you have 3 of those y to the 4th powers multiplied. So think of it like that, y to the 4th times y to the 4th times y to the 4th. And that's really multiplying 4 y's times 4 more y's times 4 more y's, which is like multiplying 12 y's. And we can write that in shortcut math style, y to the 12th. This 2 on the outside means you have 2 of these multiplied. So it's 3x to the 4th y to the 5th times 3x to the 4th y to the 5th. And then go through and multiply the factors that can be simplified together. 3 times 3, we call that 9. X to the 4th times x to the 4th is 8x's multiplied, so that's x to the 8th. And 5 y's and 5 more y's is like multiplying 10 y's, so it's 9x to the 8th power y to the 10th. Letter D, 15 and 20 as numerator denominator have common factors. I can think of 15 as 3 times 5. And then we have a to the 4th b. And then we have 20. 20 is 4 times 5. And then we have a to the 7th and b squared. So a few parts that I can simplify from this fraction. The two 5's, anything divided by itself as factors, give me a value of 1. So those two 5's make 1. I have a to the 4th and a to the 7th. 4, I can take away 4 factors of a on top, which is all of them. Take away 4 of these factors of a on the bottom, and I have a cubed left over. B and b squared, I can take away the 1 factor of b on top, take away 1b on the bottom, and I have 1 left over. So all I have on top of my fraction bar left over is a 1 and a 3. 1 times 3 is 3. And my denominator is a 4 times the 1, which is 4, and I have a cubed and b. And that's the simplest form of that original fraction. Last one, some negative exponents in there, so take care of those first. Move them above or below the fraction bar because they're all factors and they can move as reciprocals that way. So this c to the 5th power is positive, leave it above the fraction bar. This d to the negative 2, put it under the fraction bar. D to the positive 2, or d squared. E to the 4th, leave it where it was. Go to the bottom of the fraction. C to the negative 3rd, make it a positive, put it on top. C to the positive 3. D to the 4th, it's a positive exponent, leave it there. E is e to the 1st power, positive exponent, leave it there. So now decide if you can simplify anything. On the top of that fraction bar, I have a c to the 5th and c cubed multiplied, so that's going to be c to the 8th power. On the top I have e to the 4th and I have e down here, so I can take away this 1 factor of e and take away 1 of these factors of e, and that becomes e cubed. So I have c to the 8th power e cubed on top of that fraction bar. On the bottom I have d squared times d to the 4th times 1. Well, that's in the end like multiplying 6 factors of d, so that's a d to the 6th power, and that's my simplified version. And that's the end of skill number 5.